Hi, everybody. I'm Marta. Nice to meet you all. Thank you. Which one of you is Jane Fonda?
I used to be.
Thank you all for coming to this, and we're gonna dive right into the conversation. So, I wanted to start by asking how it felt to say goodbye to characters that you'd been playing for so long.
I know we all miss everybody every day. I mean, 7 years is a long time, and count COVID in there, and it's about 8. And we were a very close group. I mean, familial, the crew and everything. We were, every day it was just our great group, and our group was there, and we could depend on them, and Jane and I could depend on them to light us, which is like the miracle of all time. And so we just loved going to work and having that job, and so we miss it a lot.
Is it different to play a character for so many seasons than it is to play a character in a film that you shoot in a month or 6 weeks and then move on?
Goodbye. You answer that, Jane.
Bossy. We were very sad to say goodbye to the characters. There were tears at the end, but that's the truth.
There were characters that were, very well received, and we didn't know why, and so we were ever grateful, and it sort of set a continuous kind of thing between Jane and me. When we do talk shows and
You
stuff.
said I was going to talk.
Oh, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
Far be it from me to interrupt you, Lily.
Go right ahead. You have my full blessing.
You even remember what you were going to say there? You don't remind. I knew she
I
did.
have much recollection at all.
But it gave me time to think about the answer to your question. Which I do remember. Is it different than making a movie? Yeah, it really it is. You when you live with a character that long and everything, it goes deep. But it also is different culturally. You make a movie, and even if it's successful, some people see it, some I don't know, it just comes and goes. If you're an activist like I am, and you have a hit series like Grace and Frankie that everybody loves behind you at your back, boy, it's easier to be an activist. People like you. That's different. And it's because they see Grace and Frankie over, and you know what I mean, it comes into their living rooms, and you become part of them, so people aren't so scared of me anymore, and I love that.
I am a little scared of you.
So I'm curious. We've tackled over the course of all these seasons a lot of issues about aging, particularly in this last season. And I'm wondering, why do you think it's important to do those stories about
Death?
Yeah.
And old age?
Yeah.
And arthritis and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Well, because older women are the fastest growing demographic in the world, and so those issues relate to a whole lot of women and men. It's not like men are, exempt. I wish we had done one about the fact that hair takes a forced march from your pubic region to your chin. And food sticks spikes in your teeth more. And I could keep going, but no, it is. It's important to talk about those issues because that's what people live with.
Yeah. We did do one about losing pubic hair, and we did do one about pulling a hair out of your chin.
Remember that.
But we didn't do
I
the
pulled
first
it with
part.
my fingers. Not substantial.
Lily, what has Frankie taught you?
Well, I hope I don't know that I've learned it, but I think Frankie taught me to be as free and open as possible and outspoken, and then I don't know that she even learned very much from what she was outspoken about. She taught me just to have more fun, or try to have more fun, or be more fun.
Right.
Be more positive, instead of angsting over everything as one might be given to in this.
I've done
World.
two movies with her since we wrapped Grace and Frankie. She hasn't learned any of those things.
I know I can't learn anything.
So you don't have to learn anything. You're just
I know it all.
Yeah, and you're funny. Just
I'm not funny. I don't know it all. Well, maybe did you say I knew it all?
I will. Oh,
I'm curious. The two of you have worked together a number of times, and have known each other a long time and have been friends for a long time. What have you learned about each other recently, or through the course of Grace and Frankie, that you didn't know? Well, not that stuff.
oh shucks. Well,
I just know that I can't talk about it.
Should I move on to another question?
I'll be too chunky.
what was the question? No, seriously. It's something like, what have we learned? No.
No, the question was
Our
about,
recall has diminished since the show
question-
stopped.
the question is really about what have you learned about each other?
Oh. I have learned that this woman has more empathy than anybody I know, which is why she can play so many different kinds of characters. So
That's why I'm crying right now, because I have empathy with myself.
I've learned that she's the most loyal person, right, Paul? The most loyal person I've ever met. She's friends with people from elementary school. I mean,
They still owe me money. I went through college. I try to think what I
she's
learned.
feisty. She fights. I don't like conflict, but she doesn't care. She doesn't mind conflict. I mean, I've seen her hairdresser leave her trailer in tears. I'm not kidding. On multiple occasions.
That's not true.
No, she, and I did something once that irritated her, and whoa, she really. So I learned not to play around with her because she'll.
What was it?
I don't remember, but boy, were you mad, and it was like,
No, that's
Yeah.
not true. I've never been mad at you.
oh yeah, you have,
No.
yeah, and
Did it take place like about 40 years ago?
40?
Yeah, a long
No,
time
it's
ago.
during Grace and Frankie. This is
Oh.
Marta Kauffman. Grace and Frankie. I also know that she is capable of something that I'm not capable of, which is unconditional love that lasts forever.
She's
It's true.
daydreaming, to say the least. I'm gonna drop this mic right here.
Anything you want to say that you've learned about Jane?
About Jane, I've known that Jane from the time we did 9 to 5, which is a long time ago. I saw what an innocent, naive, believing, invested girl she was. And anything she would ask me to do, I would do it. And then I would tease her about it sometimes. We had a thing once, this was during the Vietnam problem. I'm sorry to bring that up. But, and so, and Joan Baez was a friend of mine. And she had recently asked me to sign a letter in the New York Times chastising chastising your group. That's the thing. See, when you get in one group, another group's going to come along and say something about you. And so anyway, Jane, I said, so that had just appeared in the newspaper. I'm telling this for the first time, and so you guys are privy to this. So keep it under your...
These cameras, they're filming us. Here are cameras. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, these cameras. Well, that's just social media.
Oh, well, then we don't have to worry.
I'm not going to say another word except that Jane is an incredible, incredible person. And you all know that because you can see what she does. She does everything out in the open. And right away I want to turn that into something, but I won't.
Do.
No,
Life is short, do it.
Out in the open, it's like, some cheesy thing reference. I'm not going to say it.
Okay.
But I just marvel at her. Like when she was going to start Fire Drill Fridays, it was in the midst of the COVID. Was COVID started?
No. Months before COVID.
Yeah. And so I was over at her house, and she just said out of nowhere, I'm taking a leave of absence for a year. I'm going to go to D.C. and I'm going to work with Greenpeace out of nowhere. Am I telling it wrong?
I don't know. No, I think that was...
Anyway, it was like such a shock, because we were due to go back to work. We had a season to finish or something.
In January.
Yeah. And she said, I've asked Ted Sarandos if he can postpone Grace and Frankie for a year. And I thought, sorry, she's dreaming. What a beautiful dream she has. But she'll never see this through. I thought, ask Ted Sarandos to postpone like one of his best shows on the air and his most popular.
For a year.
For a year. Well, it's a year. But you didn't know COVID was coming.
No.
See,
but it was 4 months, though. I went for 4 months, 4.5 months. That was good.
So she went to D.C. and she started getting arrested, and she established Fire Drill Fridays. And she did the whole thing. There was no stepping back or looking at it. She just went full speed ahead. I even called you and I said, I'm kind of concerned about, are you really, I know Greenpeace has a great reputation and blah, 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 but they've never really had like a person of your stature like fronting for them or standing in front of them. I said, are you sure this is going to work? I could imagine, I'm enough of a scaredy cat. I would be thinking, well, let's see, maybe they were secretly friendly with Trump. I would think of any number of things, But she's just, that's the kind of person. She truly is that person you see on the news, in social media, on Fire Drill Friday. If you run into her on the street, she'll say, what do you want? She's very direct. She'll say to somebody on the set, you need a haircut.
That's what friends are for.
I know that's what friends are for, but most of us aren't that good a friend. But she is.
Oh my God.
Well, I don't know what I said. I probably humiliated you, and I'm so sorry.
Not yet, not yet.
Not yet. Of course it's not yet.
I'm gonna come back to Grace and Frankie for a minute.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Jane, what do you admire about Grace, if anything?
Her ability to drink a lot of vodka.
And still keep her looks.
The fact that she was able, with all her prejudices and judgmentalism, to become friends with this one. I like that about her, which means that she's capable of changing and transforming and deepening and growing. I like that about her. I liked her hair. I liked her clothes.
Well, speaking of clothes, the costumes have become pretty iconic, thanks in no small part to our costume designer, Allison Banger. Do you have favorite costumes that you've worn on the show?
Well, on me, pretty much everything I had, I liked.
You did?
Well, I mean, I
believe
thought I
people like
did. I liked it for my character.
Yeah, okay. I'm wearing one of Grace's costumes. I'm going to be I'm going to DC to do the first live Fire Drill Friday in 3 years. And I'm speaking at a function, a conference, and I'm wearing an outfit of Grace's. I wear her outfits all the time.
Yeah.
It's not that tweed suit, is it?
Do you think that a show like Grace and Frankie has opened doors for older actors, or shown audiences that you don't have to be of a certain age to enjoy the show, or any of those things?
I don't know. I mean, sure, I think it, I don't know if people really separate us from the roles. Do you think they do? I mean, do they really think Frankie and Grace live somewhere? Like other people? But I'm glad that they do. I mean, I mean, I've had people, you know, because I started out on a comedy show where I did characters that that had no exposure to the public, and literally on one night I aired on the show, and I did the telephone operator, and overnight this character was like a sensation. I don't say it for that, but thank you. No, but and I see people on the street and they say, "Oh, you're that new girl," and I laugh and I say, "Oh no, I'm not. Yes, I must be. I'm sorry." And then they say, "You know, the girl who does the phone operator is hilarious." And I say, "I do the phone operator." And they look at me like, and then they leave, kind of not sure that I was telling the truth. So I understand how audiences do love it. They get involved with the character and love the character. And it has really nothing to do with you.
And that really answers your question.
But I just want to beg to differ. I think every character, yes, is written, but you are the people who breathe life into those characters. And you can't separate the two. You can't separate the writing from the acting.
No, you can't. That's why no one knows where anything derived, where it's derived. So, I mean, I would say to you, when we would first start, when Marta first pulled us together, and we were talking about what we were going to do as characters, like something from a script that we had there, And I said, oh, it's going to make the audience like me a lot better than you. and I was serious. I knew that that's what it would be. That's what would happen. You know, and if you had Frankie's character, it probably would have done the same for you.
Okay.
I mean, no one knows why something really hits the way it does. You're just lucky. There's a great deal of luck in it, and timing, and the talent all around you.
Do you think it's changed the landscape for
Yes,
older actors?
yes, for older actors, absolutely, which was her question.
I don't relate to anything as an older actor.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot going on that's making it a little bit easier for older actors, but I definitely think that Grace and Frankie has played a role there, a very important role, and made it less scary, the idea of getting older. I like the fact that apparently young people like to watch the show with their grandparents, and college kids are watching it, and what I hope and what I think is partly true is they're less afraid of getting old.
right.
You know, and so many women have said to both Lily and me how much hope the series has given them. I mean, like including just saving somebody from committing suicide. We've heard that too.
What?
Saved somebody who was wanting to commit suicide, and her sister made her watch Grace and Frankie, and she got over it.
This in the audience says, oh,
Well, they're nice people.
misguided.
So, Lily, Frankie has always been unconventional. But I'm curious, in this last season, when being unconventional causes a big problem for her and it backfires, when her psychic predicts her death. I'm curious from you how it felt playing the character who was literally preparing for death. Did I just bring us all down? I'm sorry.
I don't know that Frankie ever relates to anything that logically and that real. I think she was sort of like, well, this is what I've been handed, and I believe in the psychic, and she's always been right before, and all the excuses she gives Grace at the end. She says, Grace confronts her and says, maybe you just don't want to deal with something like the reality of what you're pursuing. And I think if life were that easy to figure out, it would be a stunning achievement. I don't know that it does happen that way.
Yeah.
I think when the doors are closed, the lights go out, it's, if you have a fear of it or a dread of it, or you don't want to see your life end, I think that would be with you. Because that's a damn part of being a human, being born into this world.
I know one thing, that when my time comes, I know where I'm going. It's going to be all white. There's going to be a flyer that says, okay, you're dead, now what? It gives you all the things you can do in heaven. It gives you a case order, and all the food you can have. I know exactly what's going to happen, and it was just wonderful. So
You do know that I consulted with the writers on that brochure.
I think it's so brilliant I've kept it. Is it true? Did you know?
I didn't consult. She's so dear.
Do you have from this past season a favorite memory or a favorite episode or a favorite moment that sticks with you?
Well, I can think of a lot of different things, but they're totally stupid, and they come from really strange associations.
You like stupid and strange, right?
What?
Stupid and strange is awesome.
I remember one time we were sitting in a restaurant, and Mary Kay Place was a guest on the show, and I have a habit, like when I'm just sitting listening to everybody, I kind of like, my lips will like go like that. And Jane looked over and she said, "That's a really good mouth on you." And I thought, she means because it makes my lips look fuller, you know. And so I always tucked that away. I thought that was very humorous.
One of my favorite moments is she'll be coming around the mountain. I got such a tickle out of the way you did that.
Should have run that one today, so they could know how incorrect she is.
What was challenging about the last season?
What was challenging?
Mm-hmm.
COVID.
Yeah.
COVID. I guess it was challenging, but I didn't think that was challenging.
No, I didn't either.
Just what you have to do.
Yeah.
It's like okay, now we have to be different today when we get up. A little bit different. We're gonna wear a mask, or we're gonna get. But I was happy to get tested every day. That made me very comfortable. And in fact, I still take a swab and work it around like Oh God, that's so funny.
You don't ever go outside.
I'm not.
Yeah, the cleanest sneakers in history.
Those are seniors that have never seen a blade of grass.
I'm gonna run from the car to the. I had Paul laying down a newspaper in front of me as I danced to the car. That's right. Oh God. Here we are. We're laughing it up like this, and then we'll leave, and we'll be kind of morose.
Why?
It is fun to be here, and
Remember?
yeah.
Why do you think the show has been a fan favorite from the get-go?
This chair's like a little deep. I feel like Edith Ann. I don't know.
They like the characters, and it's funny.
And they like the two of you.
And they like the two of us.
I hope, but how long do you think you can hold out? I mean, at least until Jane and I leave the planet.
Hold out for what?
To like us.
It's either happened by now or it's not going to happen.
Fans are notorious for being fickle. Or they say, well, they were great, weren't they? We really loved them. Anyway, you know what's really great now? Oh my God. And we know that. We know very well where you're really coming from. But we depend on you. Like they want to know how many hits you have on your email or something.
I have one last question for you.
I got into social media because I thought that she was a social media maven, only to discover, after I'd been blogging for a couple of years and everything, that she hardly does social media at all.
I don't want them to know where I am.
let me tell a short story of why I love
Please.
her so much.
Oh my God.
Is I asked her to shoot. It was for Fire Drill Friday. A little video of knocking on someone's door. That would be me, and saying, "Have you voted? Well, here's how to register." That kind of thing that could go on social media and encourage people to get out the vote. This was before the midterms, and we suggested that she do it as Mrs. Beasley. And we had it all lined up. The whole crew was going to come to her house and do it all. And the day before, she calls me and she said, "Mrs. Beasley wouldn't live in this house." That's right. We have to find an appropriate house for Mrs. Beasley. You know, it says a lot about her. These are living characters in her heart, and she knows them so well. It just blew my mind. I just love that. I will remember that to my.
Let me just say
Dying
to add to that in terms of you, Jane, when we were shooting the pilot and we were in the grocery store and you were looking at the Say Grace products and you called me over and you said they're too expensive.
Me.
Jane did.
Okay, I thought, because I don't remember reading that, Say Grace.
And you said they were too expensive. Which was absolutely correct, and we did change it, but just that your character knew. It was the same thing, you knew.
My demographic wouldn't have paid that much, but yeah.
Right, yeah. So I have one last question.
Well, now you just took that away from me.
I just would love to know what you've learned about friendship from Grace and Frankie.
Well, I'm not going to give it up if I can help it. I'll be at your beck and call, and because you're always doing a lot more than I am.
You're looking at both of us.
Well, I'm looking at you, because we were like the primary friendship. Then I'm looking at Marta, because she was supportive friendship, but the boss, really. Now you put those together and see what comes out. Devotion. Your friends are just terribly important. You just love, what are you without your friends? You're not much.
Especially
Sad.
if you're a female.
If you're a female, well, that's where we part. No, you can tell the whole story about side by side and face to face. And go ahead, you're more eloquent.
Men friends sit side by side, looking out.
Look at those tits.
Look at that, look at the car. Oh God, I want to get one of those. Or, the football game, they're looking out, having a great time, but looking out. Women friends sit opposite each other and look at each other right in the eye. Even if they haven't seen each other for a while, you just automatically drill down to soul level. And we say, "I'm feeling really bad, can you help me?" We ask for help from our friends. Men don't do that. They don't do that, and it's such a handicap. Because really, without our female friends that we can ask for help from, life would be so awful. Hi.
Well, on that note, thank you very much.